just want you to know that anyone who tells you that you don't need to watch or read parts 1 and 2 to enjoy part 3 is lying to you. I mean, sure, you don't have to, but don't start asking questions that could have been answered by watching the first 2 parts. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone on the non-binary spectrum, my name is Miss Hexley, and welcome back to a series that totally hasn't been taking a nap since... Damn! For those that don't know about this little series of mine, there's a whole video you can watch as homework, but if you just want the bare bones, basically I sort different characters into Vampire the Masquerade clans. And today I'll be sorting some of the characters from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3, Stardust Crusaders. This series that gave your fave everything she knows.
Allegedly!
Granted, you can argue that that's not completely the case with Part 3, but this part was the birth of Stans as a power system, and was pretty much Araki still figuring out the simple complexities we know now. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to sort the sortable characters. But before we begin, note, since I already covered Joseph, Susie, and Dio in the first JoJo's vid I did, I will not be including them in this video. That would be redundant. Starting with the clans that literally only have one addition.
Join us! No! Yes! No! Yes! No! No! That's the oldest trick in the book. Damn it!
Enya the Hag is 1000% Ministry. While technically any clan can set off cult radars, the Ministry are better known for it. Even though Dio is often the one swaying people into worshipping him, it is Enya that is the basis for the cult of Dio. I also think with her age and experience, she would be able to use her stand to dim different light sources in order to avoid being affected by the clan's bane.
That's my boy. No, my boy! Father, help!
Holly Kujo is truly related to Jonathan and Erina because she is also very much a Salubri. She takes their kindness and the Salubri nature to redeem, with her relationship with Jotaro being the only example needed. If anyone knows Jotaro, it's her. It's why she doesn't really take any of the disrespectful stuff he says to her to heart. Even though I think it's a little unrealistic for an Italian mom to let that slide. She knows her anxious baby boy all too well and just wants everyone else to give him a chance.
You guys are just jealous because all of my friends that know me tell me that I remind them of Beyonce, so you can...
Not a lot of Ventrue in this video, but I think Steely Dan has no issue with that. Ideally, he would want to be in the same clan as Dio, but the moment shit goes left, he folds, and the La Sombra don't do losers. One way of looking at it is the Steely Dan arc, where you could envision Dio being the one taking charge of his initiation and abandoning him when he loses. In this World of Darkness canon, however, it is a Ventrue that embraces Dan for his stand and then proceeds to never associate with him again after he loses to Jotaro.
Hey Teddy, let's doorbell ding dong ditch. You 36!
Jotaro is pretty much like his mom, which he would be happy to hear, because he was very easy to sort. I think he manages to hit 2 different aspects of the Brujah archetype. If his teen self is embraced, then it's obviously the strong rebel type. But it's how he acts in part 4 and 6 that sells it for me, because he can definitely fit into that mold of the warrior scholar type, with him imparting wisdom and the knowledge he knows on the younger characters around him. Not the teacher you may expect, but definitely the one you'll appreciate.
Tovelo? Period! Tovelo!
I know they're brothers, so they would probably be in the same clan because of how close they are, and I do think both can fit in the Gangrel clan, but for this video, they're not in the same clan. In this scenario, Boingo gets embraced first, and because he wants to be able to protect his brother, Oingo would also want to be embraced, but would end up getting embraced by the wrong clan, the Gangrels. This would happen especially if Boingo had a vision that Oingo would get embraced, but the vision never specifies by who. Regardless, the two would still stick together.
What the fuck is this kid doing?
The voices!
I won't lie, neurodivergent fortune teller, Boingo's a Malkavian. That's probably a very shallow sort, but will I change it? No, I'm not confident in this decision.
911. Officer, right there. Come on in, go.
I stand by putting him with the Nosferatus. Normally I try to cut the Nos some slack, but sometimes there are Nosferatu where their insides match their outside. I'm sorry, but it's true, and J Gal is one of them. Okay, so those were simply the clans with 1 entry, so now we're gonna focus on the clans with more than 1.
You know who you really look like? You fucking look like Luther Vandross.
I was low-key pushing it with Boingo, but I'm definitely pushing it with Managed Boy. Within the realm of Vampire the Masquerade, the only people that are embracing a whole-ass baby are the vamps that are really fucked in the head. So a Tzimisce might. As I mentioned before, sometimes characters can fall into different clans. So while a Malkavian could embrace him, I think the level of Manish Boy's sadistic nature at such a young age would just be too tempting to not bring him into the fold of the dragons. I can see a Tzimisce more likely raising him and teaching him the ways of the clan until he's an adult and then embracing him. Terrence Darby is a perfect Tzimisce. There are some characters that just fit too well into the clans I've chosen for them. Hospitality? Check. Sadism? Check. Flesh crafting?
But of course, ordinary doll makers cannot imbue their handiwork with human souls.
Yeah. He was born to be one of the dragons.
You right. Respect the women. Respect the women.
With Banu Haqim being the judges and executioners, it makes the most sense that Vanilla Ice is a Banu Haqim. He'll ride for Dio. He'll ride Dio if that's what Dio wanted in that moment. He's a little obsessed. I mean, they all are, to be fair. And I can totally see Vanilla having an addiction to Dio's blood and mainly feeding in a blood leech sort of way too. Vanilla is more the executioner of the home. And if that's the case, then Endul is the traveling executioner. I forget what it's called when someone like travels around spreading the good word about someone. I know for religions like Christianity and Catholicism, it's missionaries or something, but there's another word for what I'm thinking of. It might be Herald.
I am Harold.
So basically, Endul is the traveling version of Vanilla Ice. They even both have terrifying stands.
Choose wisely. One will give you eternal life, and the other, Dr. Pepper.
I think it makes so much sense that Abdul is also a Ravnos, much like Joseph, and it's so clear once he gets more out of his shell. Then you can see why him and Joseph get along. They both know how to let loose in their own ways. He's also fully down with testing fate. I mean, he's a fortune teller for crying out loud. And that makes the fact that he doesn't escape the clan Bane way sadder. Listen, I know Iggy is a dog and all,
brother,
but he's kind of too central to the Crusaders for me to justify leaving him out. So let's just say in this verse, animals can be embraced, just for Iggy. In a trio of him, Joseph, and Avdol, it's very easy to see why Iggy gets along with them and why it took some time with Polnareff. Allhorse is another obvious one. It's one of those cases where it's like, damn, kinda wish you were a Crusader. But also, I don't, because Avdol barely got enough screen time as it is, so. Daniel is way different than his brother. Sort of. They both got that flesh crafting in them, but I don't think Daniel's comes from a sense of cruelty as much as it comes from the thrill of gambling, if that makes sense. Originally, I wasn't gonna add Anne in, but Goose convinced me. And if I added Manish Boy, then I can make room for her in this video, and I think she's a Ravnos based off of the fact that she clearly loves tempting fate and running around.
Look at bisexual!
It should surprise no one that artsy boy Kakyoin is a member of the Pretty Bloodsuckers. In the canon of World of Darkness x JoJo's, Kakyoin is a pretty standard affair. And I love that for him. I feel like he would fill the trope of the pretty vampire that's just misunderstood. I could see him luring in victims to drink with his tales of woe and loneliness. Kind of like Elton from Lost Girls. Like, maybe at first it would be genuine, but after a few centuries, it's all a game to him because people fall for it so much. I'm basically saying give Vampire Kakyoin some time and he'll be Noyaki de Lionko in no time. I think in some way Polnareff would fill in a different trope that comes off more of a spoof of a character like Lestat or even Edward Cullen. And I feel like it would be a combination of him committing to the bit and him genuinely trying and failing. Like, it's a mix of genuine and a joke. Like, Toreador Polnareff would kind of be a laughingstock in certain circles, you know? He's a goofball, but a reliable one. Mariah is another character who is that easy to sort, right down to her behavior of luring in victims with her beauty. And in some way, in another verse where Dio is a Toreador, this is exactly how she gets embraced. Even the aesthetic fixation and obsession could be turned on its head in her favor because of her power over magnetism. I said this a lot in my Dead by Daylight sorting, but Toreadors make really effective serial killers. And it's with that Alessi is one of them. Just, hi, I'm a serial killer, and my thing is I like to turn people into children before offing them. He's pretty self-explanatory. Finally, we have Rubber Soul, and this is another easy one in the same vein as someone like Mariah, but I feel like he can take it a step further because of how his power can be translated into flesh crafting. Since that is something Toreadors can learn, at least I think anti-tribute Toreadors can learn that unless that's been changed. Unironically, he lives a very simple vampire life, and that's finally the JoJo's Part 3 clan sorting done. I was waiting for a special occasion to pop up so I can summon the energy to make this video and bring the series back. Lo and behold, Pride Month. I really am trying to work on getting this series back on the channel, but my issue is that I added a bunch of series I wanted to do and forgot how many characters they have. For instance, I want to do Game of Thrones one day. Until then, I've been Miss Hexley, and I will see you soon.